Okay, today we're going to learn about multiplying powers. And the lesson objective is to use properties of exponents to multiply powers. So let's do a quick review. We've got base, power, and exponent. This entire thing is called the power. And the 3 is called the base, and the 4 is called the exponent. And again, the whole thing together is called a power. All right, so let's review what powers mean. So 3 to the first is 3. 3 squared is 3 times 3. 3 to the third is 3 times 3 times 3. Do the same thing with variables. X to the first is x. X squared is x times x. X to the third is x times x times x. 4x to the fourth is 4 times x times x times x times x. Notice that only the x is raised to the power, so the x is multiplied by itself 4 times. So remember, an exponent is just repeated multiplication. Okay, so let's do a little practice. I forgot to check my markers first. So 4 squared y to the third. I want you to pause the video and I want you to try expanding these out. So for the first one, multiply 4 by itself 2 times, multiply y by itself 3 times. Next one is a to the third b squared c. So a multiplied by itself 3 times and b multiplied by itself twice. And c, there's no exponent, which means there's just 1. So we'd have times c. And this time we have yz in parentheses. So that means you would multiply y times z, which we can also write as y times y and z times z. All right, so let's see. So this is something important to know, is the use of parentheses within a power. So think about whether these two things are the same or not. -3 to the fourth with the -3 in parentheses, or -3 to the fourth without the parentheses. So let's take a look at it. So in the first one, both the negative and the 3 are raised to the power because they are both in the parentheses. So that means that -3 is multiplied by itself 4 times. And then a negative times a negative is a positive, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So in this case, we would have a positive times a positive. So the final answer is going to be positive. -3 in parentheses to the fourth power is the same thing as +3 to the fourth power equals 81. So in the next one, we have -3 to the fourth. That just means that the 3 is raised to the fourth power and not the negative. So -3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So we get -3 to the fourth, which is what we started with. And then -81. Because 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. Times the negative is -81. So let's take a look at product of powers. In this example, we have 5 squared times 5 to the fourth. So if we expand both of them, 5 squared is 5 times 5, 5 to the fourth is 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So therefore, we have 6 5s multiplied together, which is 5 to the sixth. And we could use a calculator to work that out, or we can just leave it like that. Let's do the next one, same thing. So 4 to the third is 4 times 4 times 4, 4 to the sixth, 4 multiplied by itself 6 times. And if you multiplied that out, you would get, we have 9 4s multiplied together, or 262,144. Let's take a look at this one. So simplified. This is the same thing as 3 to the first power. So we just have 1 negative 3. And in this case, both the negative and the 3 are raised to the 4th power. So we're going to do negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. And altogether we have negative 3 multiplied times itself 5 times. All right, so doing the same thing with variables as the base instead of numbers. It works the same way because a variable is a replacement for a number. So z to the 4th, we're going to have 4 z's multiplied. Z to the 2nd, we're going to have 2 z's multiplied. We're going to have z to the 6th all together. Let's look at this one. Y squared times y to the 3rd times y to the 4th would give you y to the 9th. All right, so what I want you to think about here is, do you notice any patterns in what's happening? In 5 to the squared times 5 to the 4th, we end up with 5 to the 6th. 4 to the 3rd times 4 to the 6th was 4 to the 9th. Negative 3, if you think about that, is to the 1st, times negative 3 to the 4th, and you get negative 3 to the 5th power. So here we have an exponent of 4 and 2, and the final exponent is 6. We have an exponent of 2, 3, 4, and the exponent is to the 9th power in the final answer. So you may notice a pattern here that essentially we are just adding the exponents. 2 plus 4 is 6. 3 plus 6 is 9. 1 plus 4 is 5. 4 plus 2 again is 6. 2 plus 3 plus 4 is 9. So that's a little bit of a shortcut. But if you're not comfortable with that, I would recommend writing them out and expanding them. So if we look at an example with 2 variables, we can rewrite this in a different order. So multiplication, you can change the order and you still get the same solution. So s to the 4th times this s to the 2nd, and then t to the 3rd times t to the 1st. Sometimes that helps students to keep the same variable bases together. So s to the 4th is s times s 4 times, 2 more times, so we get s to the 6th. T to the 3rd times t, we have 3 t's plus another one, and we get t to the 4th. So in summary, remember that exponents are repeated multiplication. Parentheses matter. Negative 2 to the 4th and parentheses negative 2 to the 4th are different. In this case, only the 2 is to the 4th power. In this case, the negative is also raised to the 4th power. Multiplying powers, they have to have the same base. And one way to multiply powers is to expand each power out and then rewrite using 1 power. And that's all I got for you today, folks. If you have additional questions, email, text, Instagram, call, any of those things, I'm happy to help you. All right, see ya.